Hello everybody, my name is Coach Nico and I'm with BP2 Asia and I'm with my son Lucas. And today we are going to test out the RPM
paddles.
Friction Pro. We have the Friction Pro elongated 14mm and we have the Friction Pro elongated 16mm. Now, I was in Japan just the other week and I attended a pro clinic with James Ignatowicz himself, and part of that clinic was that you received a 16mm Friction Pro paddle. And then a week later, James came here to the Philippines and we got a chance to play with him down in the pickle yard Somo, and James gave Lucas a 14mm Friction Pro, and so Lucas has been using his paddle for about 2 to 3 weeks now. What do you think about the paddle so far?
I feel like it's kind of good and it has more power and has more control. I like the kind of RPM. It's kind of nice, and let's play pickleball.
All right, so that's his impressions and that's his thoughts after using it for a few weeks. But for me personally, I haven't actually been able to use these yet. I've been very busy. So I'll start with the 16mm and give you my feedback, and then I'll switch to the 14mm that Lucas has been using and is probably already broken in. We'll do some dinking, some counters and drives, and then Lucas and I will play a few points, and then I'll give you my final first impressions on the RPM Friction Pro. Let's go.
Let's go to RPM paddles, sir.
All right, so here's our dinking. I'll be starting here with the 16mm. Some things to note if you're looking into this paddle: this is a thermoformed honeycomb core paddle. So it's got a floating core and it has that honeycomb build to it. So of course, right off the bat, that does mean eventually this paddle will core crush, just like a Luz Pro Cannon, a Yola 3S, or a Yola 4. And you should know that before you buy. This is also what many are calling the people's paddle. So I've heard from a lot of players that they really like this paddle. They find it to be kind of a really good balance between performance, price, and just overall feel. And it definitely sounds, especially Lucas's paddle, after using it for a few weeks, it's definitely broken in. Definitely sounds like a Yola 4.
Fortunately, that's not broken.
No, broken in, it just means that you've already used the paddle long enough that the core is broken in. One thing to note right now is I would definitely say I can feel the ball more, and you usually get that type of feel with the honeycomb core paddles that have been so well known to most players for years. So if you like that feeling where you really feel like you can feel the ball more, especially as it hits the paddle, if you like the feeling of kind of being able to shape the ball more, if you're coming from tennis, then this is definitely a paddle to consider. Also, really, really gritty. I wouldn't say it's on the same level as the peel ply of a Avatar or a Triton from Cypic, but I would say it's very close. But it definitely feels like a paddle that I could walk out with right now and play in a tournament with. Okay, now I'm gonna do some counters with the 16mm Friction Pro. Nice one, Lucas. All right, here we go. Nice shot. Ready? Okay, I have now switched to the 14mm Friction Pro. I'm very curious how this is going to perform because I really liked the Vole Pronto X in the 14mm. That was a CFC layup on the face and also similar to this with a honeycomb floating core. So Lucas, again, has been using this for a few weeks. It sounds broken in. Let's test it now, Lucas. Yeah, this definitely has that more hollow feel and definitely has that sound, that very famous like Yola 3S sound. Keep it low, keep it low. There you go. Yeah, this definitely feels more broken in than the 16mm. And definitely has that slightly smaller sweet spot. But I like the feel. This definitely feels like a more aggressive paddle, just hitting it right away. Nice try, nice try. One thing I will note, and I know some people really don't like it when I talk about the handles on paddles, but RPM, this paddle's handle is not so quality or not so premium. It feels very cheap. It doesn't feel as cheap as the Luz Pro Cannon. That paddle feels really cheap, but this could be better. It feels low cost. But if you're going to be using an overgrip, then that probably won't matter anyways for most people. So now I'm going to have Lucas do some speed ups to me, and I'm going to try some counters. Nice. Again. Yeah, 14mm definitely more powerful. Of course, you do lose a little bit of sweet spot, a little bit of forgiveness with that thinner core, but I like the aggressive feel. Nice shot, nice shot. All right, guys, I'm gonna do a few more counters here. 16 and 14mm Friction Pro elongated. Let's see the difference. Yeah, this definitely feels softer. Definitely has a little bit more dwell time. So if you're looking for that slightly more plush feel with still a Gen 3S feel, then I would say the 16mm is gonna be the better choice for you. Just earlier using this, it felt so much more aggressive. Yeah, but you do sacrifice some sweet spot. So obviously for the pros, that's not gonna be a big deal. But if you are looking for a paddle with just slightly more forgiveness, then I would stick with this 16mm. Okay, a few things that I want to test out now is the grit. This paddle, again, when you feel it, it has so much more grit than a Yola does. I would say the Yolas have virtually no grit on them besides the carbon fiber surface itself. The RPMs, however, come out of the box really gritty. So I want to practice and try now some top spin, some slice to see just how much spin we can get with this and we can generate with the RPM. And then I'm gonna, after using the 16mm, I'm gonna switch to the 14mm, which is what Lucas is using. So yeah, Lucas, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's go. Gonna do some more top spin here. Nice shot, buddy. Nice. Nice. Oh yeah. Ah! Got you there. That felt really good.
Ah!
It's okay. Ready? Nice shot, bud. Nice try, nice try. It's okay. Yeah, I really like how the paddle basically hugs the ball. There's a lot more shaping that I can feel in the paddle. So if you like that feeling, nice shot, bud. If you like that feeling of being able to shape the ball and that honeycomb core,
Out!
then this is definitely a paddle that I would recommend. I like this. I like the feel of this a lot more than even the Luz Pro Cannon. However, obviously this is double the price of a Luz Pro Cannon, so that's something you got to factor in too. All right, now I'm gonna switch to the 14mm. Ready? Nice try. Yeah, definitely the grit. Very effective. All right, go. Nice shot. Nice. Keep going. 14mm is very nice, very aggressive.
40mm, the 40mm is like kind of strong when I hit it.
Yeah,
So you
I think for Lucas, with the way that he plays, the 14mm is just better because he does a lot of drives and a lot of power shots, even though he's just 7. And
nice.
that extra bit of power, I think, really helps him at his age. Okay, so the last thing that I want to do is I'm going to test out the paddle on serves and probably some drop serves to emulate a drive-like motion. So I'm going to start with a 16mm and then I'll transition to the 14mm. This really gives me an idea of just how much power I can get out of these paddles. And one thing to note, I have not put any lead weight on these paddles yet, but with the elongated shape and especially the 16mm for the Friction Pro, feels really good out of the box. So let's do our serves. Ready, Lucas? All right, let's start with some walking serves. Nice return, bud. All right, gonna do a few drop serves now, just to get an idea of more of a drive. Wow, that had some crazy dip on it. Ready? Lucas is having fun out there. Ready? That feels really good and definitely has more shape to it than, nice. Definitely has more shape to it than a Yola. Okay, now I've switched to the 14mm elongated. Let's test this out with some serves. I have a feeling this is going to be even crazier. Lucas, ready? Nice return. Nice shot, bud. Body shot. Yeah, the amount of spin that's coming off of this paddle, especially top spin that I'm getting on the serve here, is really nice. All right, gonna do a few quick drops here to kind of emulate a drive. That one was also out. There we go, that was on the line. Sorry, bud. Ready? Nice. All right, so that wraps up our first impressions of the RPM Friction Pro. Lucas, anything that you'd like to say or share about the paddle?
I kind of like the RPM. It has so much control. And the last time when James Nanadowicz gave me this paddle, I like getting used to this paddle. It's kind of nice paddle. I can play really good and I like the paddle, the surface and the sweet spot. If you just like hit the ball really in the sweet spot, it's really good.
All right, if that doesn't sell you, I don't know what will. But yeah, I would say between the two paddles, for me personally, I would still stick with the 16mm. It is a little bit more forgiving, just has a little bit slightly bigger sweet spot. Of course, this one is not yet broken in, this one is. But I think all in all, I would stick with the 16mm, and I like the elongated shape. If you want to be extra aggressive though, if you can really center and master in on your sweet spot on contact, then I think the 14mm that Lucas is using is going to be even more advantageous to you. Some things that I really like to point out that I think are really nice about this paddle: the grit, super nice. Lucas's paddle has been used for almost 4 weeks and the grit still feels basically the same. There's also a Scorpius-like shape for this paddle, or a more standardized, more square shape if you prefer that, if you want a slightly bigger sweet spot. I really like how I can feel the ball with this. I get it now what people are saying, where they say it feels really good and you can feel the ball more. I would say that you can feel the ball more with this than with a Yola Perseus or with a Yola 3S. That's just my biased opinion. The things that I think need to be considered is it is $250, so that is still a pretty steep price tag for a paddle, especially a flagship new paddle from a newer company. But I know James is definitely here to stay with his company, and I think they've got more and more paddles coming along very soon. So as long as the warranty is covered, then consider that, you know, you pay $250, but you will get your warranty coverage with the paddle. And then, yeah, the things that I would say are just a little bit lacking. Grip could be better. Obviously, that's why I have an overgrip on this one. With the overgrip, I don't notice anything. But if you're a stock grip guy, then it could be better. One other thing, I really like the design. I think the RPM design stands out. It's a little bit different. I like how sleek it is. I like the white edge guard on the black carbon fiber face. And yeah, otherwise, I think the paddle is really good. I think it's better than a Yola. And I think that performance-wise, it just feels better. I can shape the ball better than a Luz Pro Canon. However, again, that Luz is half the price, more than half the price of an RPM. So I'm gonna probably make a longer review video for this paddle after I get a few more weeks in on this 16mm and probably spend a little bit more time with the 14mm as well. So until I make that video, feel free to leave your comments in the comment section below. Have you guys had a chance to use the RPM? The Kitchen said that this was top 2 paddle of the year for 2025. They also said that it was the people's paddle. So what are your thoughts? What do you guys think about this paddle? What are the things that you like and what are the things that you don't like? Feel free to leave those in the comment section below. Thank you so much for watching, and until the next video, 002.
Let's go team RPM!